Today, we're talking NBA 2020 playoff predictions. My name is Kevin Burrell from the KO Podcast, and as you can see on our screen today, on your screen, my screen, we have the 2020 NBA playoff brackets. This is a little bit, just a tad bit outdated from yesterday because as you could see, Lakers and Portland and Memphis are all there, but that is the Portland Trail Blazers. Just want to remind you guys to subscribe to the channel so you guys are always informed when we post a video and so you can join our family. I want you also guys to go to our Facebook, our Twitter, and our Instagram because we have some good content out there and we love it, you know. We love using those platforms to share my opinions, your opinions, talk to you guys, interact with the fans. But today, as you can see, we have the playoff predictions right here, playoff brackets. I'm going to predict it. I did predict it a while back with Octavio Sequeira and in one of my first videos. But we are in a different stage, and this is the bracket we're seeing right here. We're going to start with the West, and we're going to then go to the East. So we're going to start with the Lakers and the Portland Trail Blazers. This is a matchup that is going to be very difficult to predict because the Blazers aren't your typical 8th-seeded team. This is a team with Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, Yusuf Nurkic, Hassan Whiteside, Carmelo Anthony, we can't forget about him, good young core pieces. This is not your original team at an 8th seed. This team last year, if I'm correct, was either a 4th or even a 3rd seed. And this team got to the conference finals. So I could see this going all the way, possibly 5 or even 6. But I think the Lakers will beat the Portland Trail Blazers. Then we have the Thunder and the Rockets, the best matchup in the West. Russell Westbrook playing his former team, even though he will be out for a few games. But I still see this is the small ball Rockets against a good Oklahoma City Thunder team, which was the 4th seed. Completely unexpected, completely threw off the NBA. Not even going to lie, threw me off a bit. But I did like that team because of CP3, Danilo Gallinari. But at the end of the day, I will see this going all the way to 7 games with the Thunder winning. Then we have the Nuggets, Denver Nuggets versus the Utah Jazz. This is another interesting matchup, but I see this one going all the way to 6 with the Nuggets winning. I don't think the Jazz are ready to beat a 3rd-seeded Denver Nuggets team. It's just way too powerful, way too good. And then finally on the West, we have the Mavericks versus the Clippers, the 2nd-seeded Clippers versus the 7th-seeded Mavericks. Man, will Pat Beverly lock down Luka? That is everyone's question, and I don't know, but I do like the Clippers in this series winning in 5. So we're going to keep going on the Eastern side, then we'll do our conference, our second round playoff predictions for both sides. But first, we're going to move on to the East with the Bucks and the Magic. I'm not going to say much more. The Bucks are sweeping it, and most it'll go to 5. But yes, the Bucks will beat the Magic in either 4 or 5. And then we have the Heat and the Pacers. This is another matchup when we're going to see an old vibing matchup, because if you remember 2013, 2014, Pacers and Heat, that was a matchup that a lot of people liked. And the Heat did eventually win that, I think, in 7. So we look at it, and I have the Heat winning in 5. I don't think the Pacers will take this to 7. At most, they'll take it to 6, but I think they'll win the series 4-1. So, yeah. Just Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, the snipers. We can't say much more about this team that's not good. The only thing that might be a little bit concerning is injuries with Goran Dragic, Jimmy Butler. They just came off a couple of injuries that they had. I think they were both pretty bad. And then you have Derrick Jones Jr., who has a neck strain. Thank the Lord. That was not a good scene for the Miami Heat, especially in a pretty much almost a scrimmage game. That was a scrimmage if we're being honest. Then we have the Celtics versus the Sixers. This is probably the most interesting matchup in the Eastern Conference. Honestly, I think the Celtics are going to take this one in 7. This is going to be an interesting matchup. Sixers don't have Ben Simmons, so Joel Embiid, just like Kendrick Perkins said, he has to be the Hakeem Olajuwon of the series. He has to be the comparisons of Hakeem Olajuwon, he has to take over if the 76ers really want to win. Even though the 76ers the 76ers are a good team because they have Tobias Harris, Josh Richardson. You have extremely good defense in Matisse Thybulle. You have Shake Milton. You have some really good pieces. But I think the impact of not having Ben Simmons is what is going to define that series. Ben Simmons miraculously does come back. Maybe this goes to 7. But honestly, as of right now, I think the Celtics will win it in 6. And then finally, we have the Nets as the 7th seed and the Raptors as the 2 seed. This is an interesting matchup at the end of the day, but I don't think this will go more than 6, maybe even a sweep. I have the Raptors winning this one 4-2. Now we're going to move on to our second round playoff predictions. Now we have the Lakers against the Thunder. I easily see this one being at most 5 games. The Lakers will win 4-1, moving on to the conference finals. Then we have the Nuggets versus the Clippers. Now, you look at that, and if I'm being honest with you, this could go all the way to 7, and most likely it will, but it's going to come down to bench depth and complete roster, which to me, that complete roster is the Clippers. Clippers will be moving on to see an LA Conference Finals. Now we're going to move on to the Eastern Conference side with Milwaukee versus the Heat. Okay, here's where the controversial part comes. I am a Heat fan. I have seen each game the Heat have played against Milwaukee. The Heat in the bubble were pretty good. They weren't that bad. I think they finished right at 500, 4-4. But let's be honest. The Heat have played better than Milwaukee when they're playing against each other. That first game, they won in overtime. The second game, they pretty much dominated that game too. They played really good. And then now this third game, the Heat dominated throughout the first half. They got a little bit confident and they lost. But I think the Heat will win in 7 games, moving them on to the conference finals. You can clip this part if you guys want. You could record this thing. But if I'm being honest, the Heat will beat the Bucks in 7. Then we have the Celtics versus the Raptors. That is going to be probably the most interesting matchup of the second round because these are 2 extremely high talented teams. I see the Raptors winning in 7, taking them to the conference finals. Now we have 4 teams left. We have Lakers and Clippers on the West, and then we have the Heat and the Raptors on the East. Now, Lakers and Clippers. That is an interesting matchup, nothing to say the least, because these are the 2 best teams in the West. Who will win? Honestly, this is going to 7, guys. I don't see this going much more. This is going to go all the way to 7 games, and it will be the Clippers beating the Lakers in overtime. I see this being an overtime matchup 100%. There's no way this game there's not going to be any blowouts. These games are going to be super, super tight. Super, super tight scores. You're going to be losing by 1, winning by 2. At most, you're going to be losing by 10 or 12. But I see the Lakers losing to the Clippers. Now, I did post on Twitter. I'll put the tweet right there, right on front of our screen. And I said, imagine if the Lakers do lose to the Portland Trail Blazers. LeBron most likely will either leave LA or give it another year, or at most Anthony Davis, because that is one heck of an LA team. You have LeBron, you have Kuzma, you have Davis, JaVale McGee, a really good player. So, and then you have to say Rajon Rondo, J.R. Smith. So you look at that team. If that team cannot beat the 8th seeded Trailblazers, I don't know what team the Lakers could beat in the playoffs. But I'm going to keep going with my prediction. Yes, the Lakers, I think, will lose in 7. Then we have the Heat and the Raptors. This is an interesting matchup because the Heat did beat the Raptors twice, 2-1 throughout the whole season. But honestly, if I'm being straight up with you guys, I think the Raptors are going to win this one in 7 to take them to the NBA Finals once again. And my NBA Final winner will be the Clippers. Yeah, you see this team. These are 2 complete teams, but the loss of Kawhi Leonard was huge. And Kawhi is actually playing his former team in my predictions. So this will be one interesting matchup to see. And at the end of the day, I think the Clippers will be your NBA champions. Once again, guys, thank you for watching the video. I hope you guys like and subscribe. That is my playoff prediction bracket. I want you guys all to follow our social medias. We are going live sometime either this week or next week. We're trying to coordinate dates with Octavio Sequeira. We'll see what happens. And recuérdense a todos mis fanáticos latinos que vayan a escuchar ahora que estamos en Apple Podcast, en el reporte de los Marlins. Pueden escucharlo todos los viernes. Filmamos bien temprano para que lo saquemos al mediodía o a las 2 de la tarde. Y ahí pueden escuchar a el Charlotte o Charles Alberto. Y hablamos de cada serie que los Marlins jugaron esta semana. Vamos a estar hablando hasta ahora de la serie de los Bravos y de los Mets. So I'll see you guys all in the next one and peace out.